Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
This episode is brought to you by Petivity. In every pet story, there's a moment where seemingly minor changes could be the first signs of larger issues. Petivity is here to help you better understand what's going on with your pets with smart devices and at-home health tests that proactively monitor their health. Give your pet the story they deserve with Petivity. Visit Petivity.com all December long for a site-wide sale on all smart devices and at-home health tests.
Welcome to the chalkboard, my fellow football nerds, for episode number 214 of Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Shane Haff, and you can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I'm joined today by the best co-host in the game. You've heard him on the Saturday morning spread right here on the Eagles Pinpool Network. It is Mark Henry Jr. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. NFL. Mark, how are you doing this evening?
Doing well. College football has kind of taken my focus away from the NFL briefly. With the playoffs coming up and all the coach drama going on, I feel like that is the dominant story in the football world, actually. I feel like college stole the weekend from the NFL.
Yeah. College football is such a joke for how they handle all of this stuff.
But it's also...
Imagine the NFL allowing a head coach of a team, to take a job as a head coach of another team, like between week 18 and the playoffs, and everybody's just fine with that.
Well,
and then he's like, by the way, I'm taking my whole coaching staff, and I'm also taking most of the players with me too. Like, college football is such a joke with how they handle all of this stuff.
I wouldn't say people are fine with it, first of all, but second of all, it's also what makes college football amazing. The fact that there's no governing body. There's no standings. It's a committee of people deciding what 12 people get in, or computers back in the day. I do think that there's something to college football and some of the things that are so dumb about college football that almost help the drama of the world of college football and help intrigue in ways that the NFL doesn't need necessarily. So I kind of like that college football isn't just the NFL junior. Like, I kind of like that it has its own insanity and own. I mean, there's things that should obviously change. The fact that the transfer portal opens when it does is idiotic. You know, that's the easiest fix in the world, and there's other issues beyond just this that affects. So, yeah. But it is extremely interesting, I would say.
Well, we are here to talk about the NFL. Me taking shots at college football aside, off the top here. So no buys this week, but the games have been spread out. So, I mean, there were 3 Thanksgiving games. There was a Friday game, which we won't necessarily get into. We're recording this in advance of Monday Night Football, so we won't have takes on that one. But we will talk a little bit about every other game. And so let's roll it back to Thanksgiving. You're chowing down on turkey. You're watching the Packers beat the Lions 31-24, and just put yourself back in that place, maybe enjoying a pecan pie slice, whatever it is that you like. But Jordan Love probably played his best game of the season against the Lions. He leads 4 consecutive touchdown drives during the second and third quarters. Overall, he throws for 234 yards and 4 touchdowns and was particularly effective pushing the ball downfield, which it's been a strength of this team in the past, not necessarily recently, though. He goes 4 of 6 for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns on deep passes. Meanwhile, Detroit really struggled on fourth downs again. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, they go 0 for 5 in a loss to the Eagles. They went 0 for 2 in this game. So they're 0 of 7 on fourth downs in their last 2 losses. Jamison Williams had a good game for them, going 7 receptions, 144 yards, and a touchdown. But Micah Parsons really took this game over in the fourth quarter, helping close this out for the Packers. He gets 2 fourth-quarter sacks. He also had 10 pressures, 5 of which were quick pressures, which is under 2.5 seconds. He gets 3 run stuffs. He has a 38.5% pressure rate, which is the best game he's had since his rookie year. And Detroit drops another one. And, I mean, the NFC North seems firmly in control of the Bears now, which is kind of crazy. If you told me before the season started that at Thanksgiving time, the 1 seeds would be the Bears and the Broncos, I would have thought you were insane.
Well, the craziest thing about that is that the 7 seed has the same amount of wins as the 1 seed in the NFC, right? I believe that the 49ers, because they're 9-4 with an extra game on most teams, I believe they're the 7 seed. Yeah, it's insane. There's too many teams for the playoff in the NFC. It feels, yeah. The 49ers are 7th because Seattle's 5th at 9-3, and Green Bay is 6th at 8-3-1, which is technically better than 9-4. So it is very interesting. I don't know if we've ever seen in week 14 or going into week 14, the 1 seed and 7 seed a half game apart. It's pretty astounding. And it goes to show how up for grabs I think the NFL is this year, and the NFC is. Especially after one result on Sunday, it feels that way. But the Packers, I think I saw was the stat out there that Jordan Love leads the NFL in EPA per play for quarterbacks.
I'm not sure on that.
I'm going to try to find that. I saw that going around today. I saw he was 4th in the MVP. Yeah, 1st in EPA, I guess 3rd in PFF grading and efficiency. Not that I care about that at all. But there was a chart with all of of course now I can't find it, but yeah, it was Kevin Cole who tweeted it out from PFF. Jordan Love is in first, May, Mahomes, Allen, Dak, Darnold, Stafford, Jones, Purdy, Dart, Goff, Max, Stroud, Hurts, Lamar, Herbert is the top 16. But yeah, Jordan Love is in first and a good bit ahead of like number 3, honestly. So I do feel like we probably have not given Jordan Love enough credit for this season, even if it has felt up and down at times. You look at the overall snapshot of it. He's 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, 3 picks, they're 8-3-1. And it's not like he's doing this with, a top, I don't know. Does he have a top 30 wide receiver on his roster? I'd say no.
Especially not with Matthew Golden out. Not that I would put him in top 30. Conversations yet anyways, but yeah. Okay, well, let's keep going to the next Thanksgiving game. You got Kansas City at Dallas, and Dallas wins 31-28. So Dallas, in a span of 5 days, beat both participants in the Super Bowl last year. And in doing so, they kind of put the Chiefs' playoff hopes on life support. The Chiefs scored on their first 2 drives, but then they had 4 straight drives cross midfield that led to no points. And drops and penalties were huge issues for the Chiefs. And now they sit at 6-6, 1-5 on the road, by the way. And I mean, they're in serious danger of missing the playoffs. They're plus 73 in point differential. And in the last 25 years, only 3 teams have ever had that high of a point differential through week 13. and not had a winning record per Sheil Kapadia. The Chiefs are one of the three. On the Dallas side, Dak threw an interception on his second pass of the game. But after that, he was nearly flawless. The Cowboys scored on 6 of 9 possessions. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens teamed up for 200 yards and a touchdown. And they have a huge game in Detroit next week. But they're coming on strong for a playoff push. And so their path to the playoffs is basically winning their division because of the logjam we mentioned in the NFC. And so right now, because they have the tie, they trail the Eagles by a game and a half. And so here's the final 5 games for Dallas. They get Detroit, and if they beat Detroit, they go Minnesota, the Chargers, the Commanders, the Giants. If they get through Detroit, I'm not sure I see a loss on that schedule. And so,
the Chargers is not a walkthrough.
It's not a walkthrough. So, but say they go 4-1, right? The Eagles would have to win 3 of their final 5 to hold them off. And the Eagles have the Chargers, same sort of deal. And then they've got the Raiders, who you would expect them to beat, and they have Washington twice and Buffalo. And Washington hasn't been good, but they're supposed to get Jaden Daniels back soon. The Eagles' offense is reeling. And so there's a real possibility, I think, that Dallas ends up emerging out of the NFC East. But we'll keep an eye on that one. What were your thoughts on this game overall?
According to ESPN, Dallas has a 17% chance to make the playoffs and a 9% chance to win the division. So I do think Raiders and 2 Commanders games helps my fears a lot. And until they lose one of those 3 games, I'm not going to worry about the division personally, but that's just me.
Actually, I would put it more like a 30-35% chance.
That's way too high, I think, because they have to win 2 more games than we do, and it's only a 5-game stretch. And 3 of the games are so easy. It's just such a small sample that I think it's hard for me to see. And it's also this game against Detroit. They're already it's in Detroit, correct? Am I? Let me make sure.
I cannot remember.
Yeah, it's in Detroit. Detroit, a 3.5 point favorite, depending where you look. I should like Detroit to bounce back in that game. I think that they should.
Dallas definitely has to win that game if they want to keep their hopes alive. They've got to win out. I think they've got to win out. And then hope the Eagles drop 3 of 5. But I think if Dallas loses a game, they're done. They're going to have to win out. And the biggest test is this upcoming game.
Yeah, I agree. And even if they win out, I think the Eagles are probably going to go 4-1 to close the year. I know that people don't want to hear any positivity. I don't even want to give any Eagles positivity because I don't believe it myself right now. But I just think when it comes down to it, the schedule helps out the Eagles. I, for one, am excited for the Eagles to not be playing a playoff contender like every week, like that they have as of late. It's felt like it is. I don't ever remember a season feeling this. I don't know how this turned into Eagles talk, but it is just insane. They joke about it on Part of My Take because the producer on Part of My Take is an Eagles fan, and they stream the games. And when there's a big game, they kind of focus on whoever the fans are from those teams. And it's just like, this week, we played America's Game of the Week against the Bears. Last week, we were America's Game of the Week against the Cowboys. The week before that, we were on Sunday Night Football against the Lions. The week before that, we were on Monday Night Football against the Packers. Like, we had a nice 3-game stretch there where it was Giants, Vikings, Giants. They went 2-1, and those weren't hard games. But even before that, it's Broncos, Bucks, Rams, Chiefs, Cowboys. Like, it has just been nonstop this entire season. So we're picking them apart, and I think we should. But, man, would I have liked the 49ers schedule, who, by the way, have the highest percentage chance to make the playoffs right now in the NFC.
Yeah. All right.
That totally got derailed, by the way. I apologize. What I will say is, on the Chiefs side of things, I'll wrap the Cowboys up. I don't have anything more on the Cowboys. On the Chiefs side of things, Chiefs have a 42% chance to make the playoffs, according to ESPN. Real quick, this should be a quick one. New England has a playoff spot, right? Denver has a playoff spot.
Correct.
Buffalo has a playoff spot.
Yes.
The AFC North champion has a playoff spot.
Yes.
The AFC South champion has a playoff spot. There are 2 spots for whatever 2 of the 3 of Jacksonville, Indy, Houston don't win the division. Kansas City, the Chargers, and then whichever of Pittsburgh or Baltimore don't. It's getting hairy for Kansas City. And you look at the schedule, and it's hard to pick them to lose any of them, really. Like, it's one of, I think if you just, they'll probably be favored in every game the rest of the way. I just had it up and, of course, don't now. Yeah, they have the Texans at home, the Chargers at home, the Titans on the road, the Broncos at home, and at the Raiders. The Broncos is the tough one there. But the 3 games against teams in the race are at home. You get the Chargers potentially with an injured Herbert in that game, and you should have 2 free wins with the Titans and Raiders. And it comes down for the Chiefs. To me, it all comes down to next Sunday on Sunday Night Football against the Texans, and it comes down to Christmas against the Broncos.
Yeah. That Broncos game is going to be, there's going to be a lot of emotion going into that one. That'll be a fun game.
And if you're the Chiefs, you're hoping almost that the Broncos have that kind of wrapped up a little bit by then. But I guess even still, they'll probably be playing for the 1 seed. So that's probably a moot point.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the last Thanksgiving game. Cincinnati at Baltimore. Joe Burrow returns, and they get the win 32-14. Burrow started slow. Cincy was 0 of 4 in the red zone in the first half, scoring touchdowns. Had a 12-7 lead at halftime, but they came alive in the second half, and Burrow ended the game 24 of 46 for 261 and 2 touchdowns. Lamar played really poorly in this game. He was not effective as a passer, 53% completion percentage and a pick. He didn't do much as a runner, rushed for 27 yards. He was banged up again. He fumbled twice. The Ravens turned the ball over a total of 5 times in this game. And the AFC North is just a mess, like you mentioned. The Ravens and the Steelers are both 6-6. The Bengals are 4-8, so they're 2 games back. The Ravens play the Steelers, then the Bengals again, and they have a Week 18 date with the Steelers left. So last 6 weeks of the season, they play Bengals and Steelers twice each, which is kind of crazy scheduling. But the Bengals could legitimately get back into this, right? It's 5 games left. They're down 2 games. They go at Buffalo, which is huge. But then they play Baltimore again. And then they play 3 bad teams in the Dolphins, Cardinals, and Browns. And so if they win out, I think they have a legitimate shot. But it all starts with them taking care of business at Buffalo this week. And so we'll see how that pans out. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I feel like this is just, to me, it's just evidence that Baltimore's not going to just snap back into being what we expected and to being a contender. I do still agree with Vegas that Baltimore is most likely going to figure out a way to win this division. And they kind of control their destiny in doing so. It was seeing online, there were people arguing about how Pittsburgh should be even with Baltimore and the division odds. And if you look, Baltimore's like minus 280, Pittsburgh's plus 210, and then Cincy's like 7 or 8 to 1 or something in that range. Baltimore 6-point favorite this week against Pittsburgh, and I certainly won't be laying 6 points with the Ravens with the way that they look right now. So yeah, I'm not going to really react with Cincy until they win the next 2 games. Honestly, they would have to win the next 2 games for me to say, all right, Cincy's back and they can win this, because then they would have those final 3 games. So I think it'll be Baltimore, but man, what a crappy division. There is no way that these teams are in the top 7 in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, Baltimore has a good quarterback, at least when he hits, and the Steelers have a quarterback that hasn't thrown for 165 yards in any of his last 3 games and is completing like 48% of his passes in that time frame. So I agree with Baltimore being the odds-on favorite. I think Cincy has a better shot than the Steelers do.
The Ravens' schedule is hard, though. You go Steelers at Bengals, Patriots at Packers at Steelers. There's not a gimme left.
Yep. All right, well, let's get into the Sunday slate. We'll move a little quicker through some of these because some of them just, frankly, weren't good games. And we'll start off with one of those. San Francisco beats Cleveland 26-8. Brock Purdy didn't light up the scoreboard, but he played much better than he did a week ago. He ends up 16-29 for 168 yards and a touchdown. The Browns were down 10-8 in the third quarter with a 4th and 1. And they called a direct snap play to rookie tight end Harold Fannett Jr. First time he's taken a snap in the NFL, by the way. They haven't done this with him before. And he fumbled. And they also muffed a punt They muffed 2 punts, but they got back on one of them. But they muffed another punt that led to a 49ers touchdown, and the game kind of snowballed from there. But Shedeur Sanders was 16 of 25 for 149 yards and a touchdown with 3 sacks. He had a 3.37 second time to throw, which was the longest by a Browns quarterback in the last 3 years. The other noteworthy thing in this game, Christian McCaffrey crossed over 800 rushing and receiving yards this year, which makes it the 3rd time he's ever done that in a season. And only Marshall Faulk has ever done that before. So elite company there for Christian McCaffrey. It'd be really cool to see him do it a 4th time next year, but man, I just don't know if he's got that in him. Thoughts on 49ers Browns?
Not really on this game. Myles Garrett's unbelievable, but nothing else to say about the Browns. Browns Titans and an absolute crap bowl next week. But the Niners lost that game to Houston. I believe that was a Sunday night game. I could be wrong on that. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just a regular Sunday game. But I remember the Niners lost to Houston. And I remember we were pretty negative on this show about that game and about San Fran and how the attrition just kind of caught up to them. And no Bosa, no Warner. They weren't going to be able to keep it together. They're 4-1 since. They beat the Giants. They lose to the Rams 42-26, but then they beat the Cardinals, Panthers, Browns. Am I going to tell you that winning any of those games is that impressive? No, but I do think that they've righted the ship somewhat defensively. You thought, they got kind of beat up by Houston, and then even the Giants scored 24, the Rams scored 42. You were thinking 49ers are going to do anything this year. They're going to have to score a ton of points, and how are they going to be able to do that? The defense has figured it out somewhat. I'm not going to tell you that the defense is going to be great, but as long as the defense isn't a joke, if you have a healthy Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle with a healthy offensive line and Kyle Shanahan calling plays, that's a team I don't want to face in the playoffs. That's a team that would scare me if I was any team in the playoffs. And in an NFL full of teams where I would tell you that I'm not very afraid of them, if I was the Rams or whoever the 1 seed is, or whoever the Bears, even if we want to say the Bears are fake, I would kind of say, no, they're not, because who isn't fake? I would tell you that the 49ers should strike fear into every team in the NFC as a potential playoff matchup. I could absolutely see them going on.
All right, let's keep rolling. Jags at Titans.
We have my buddy Mike commenting here. I see you commented back. He's a Bears fan, so he's just trying to crap on us. If you want to see someone crapping on the Eagles, check out Shane's other shows.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's plenty of that this week.
Tune in tomorrow night at 8 Eastern. Birds of the Round Table will be breaking that game down. My film show with Johnny will be live on Wednesday afternoon, so there'll be lots of it on the network here, but not this one. This one's the rest of the NFL. Jags Titans. Jags win 25-3. I just realized I shouldn't have put the Bears in the title for the show.
Yeah, makes sense.
Given the format of our, I don't know. Every week I do my whole rundown, and then I just think of what's a headline or two that I could pull in for the show title, and I didn't even stop to think about the fact that we don't actually talk Eagles game on this one very much, and I put the Bears
hit on them being
there.
the 1 seed though.
Yeah. So, anyways, Titans Jags.
By the way, just so Prize knows, this is a pretty bear friendly podcast. I'd say Shane and I have been. I think we've both been very positive on Ben Johnson since the hire last year, and I think we both were pretty optimistic about the Bears this season. And yeah, I think it's less fake than other people would tell you.
Yeah, and it does me so much joy after week 1 to see the Bears better than the Lions. So,
or I think it was week 2 actually that happened.
Oh, was it? I thought it was week 1.
Yeah, because the Lions lost to the Packers in
That's
week
right.
1,
That's right.
And then came out and blew them out and went for it on 4th, up 45-10 to be real cool guys. So,
yeah, I was referring more to the crowd chanting, but yeah, same. All of it. So, okay. Titans Jags isn't really worth talking about, to be honest. 25-3. Titans scored on their first drive, a 70-yard field goal drive, and then they only gained 118 yards for the rest of the game. So not much there. On the Jags, when you're playing a Division II school as an NFL team, there's not much to talk about for you either, other than the fact that the Jags committed 13 penalties in this game. They have 104 penalties on the season now, which is more than they had in all of last season combined. So the Jags need to clean it up. The Titans need to, like, if this was a Madden franchise, you would want to sim 5 years if you're the Titans. But unfortunately, 3 years, unfortunately, that's not an option. So you're just going to have to stick with it here.
Yeah, the Jags, by the way, take the lead in the division with this win. And I'll just say good for the Jags being able to win a game that is just ho-hum. You took care of business. There was no funny business. Like, this is a Jags team that let the Cardinals take them to overtime last week when the game fell over at 7 points. This is a Jags team that almost lost to the Raiders in overtime and won by 1 when that game should have been over at like 15 points. It's the Jags lost to the Jake Browning, I think, in a really dumb way early in the season as well. So the Jags have had dumb games against bad teams before. And yeah, the Titans kind of competed with Seattle last week, a little less than the scoreboard would tell you, but so good for the Jags.
Yeah. Your buddy chimed in here and said that agree. Nobody knows who really is for real in either conference. And yeah, it really feels like more than ever, there's a lot of good teams, but they all feel like they have fatal flaws. And I feel like it's going to be very matchup oriented when we get to the playoffs this year.
I couldn't agree more. Matchups and injuries, I would say, will be a huge factor.
Okay, well, let's go to the other game in this division. Houston at Indy. Houston wins 20-16. The Houston defense had another fantastic outing. So they forced 3 punts and a turnover on downs in the Colts' first 4 possessions. They did give up points later in the game, but they held Daniel Jones to a 52% completion percentage, and they held Jonathan Taylor to 85 yards rushing. And this is the second straight loss for Indy after the meltdown to the Chiefs last week. They give up control of the division, and all of a sudden you look at it, and Jonathan Taylor, who this offense runs through, has been held under 100 yards 3 times in the last 4 weeks. And Shane Steichen is going to have to find some answers quickly, or I could see the Colts fading out of this thing altogether.
Yeah, the Colts, we talked about it after last week. If you looked at their last 3 weeks going into this game, I think you saw a clear picture of a team going the other way, and that just continued in this one. Daniel Jones, if you look at his fourth quarter or overtime passing numbers the last 3 weeks, I believe the number is, it is atrocious. It's like 5 for 20 or something crazy. He has been really brutal late in games. And I mentioned a snapshot of a team going one way negatively. The Texans are a snapshot of a team going the other way positively. I even saw Greg Rosenthal saying that the offensive line is grading out a lot better now, and they even really taken a step run blocking wise. And great comment there that the Colts are 1-4 when Taylor doesn't score a touchdown. That's a good stat there. And I mean, the Texans are 7-2 in their last 9 games now after starting 0-3. And I killed them for the 0-3 start. This was a team, I picked Houston to win the division. And I wouldn't say I believed in them that much. It was a lack of belief in the other teams. But I really killed them after the first 3 weeks. And I said, there's no chance this team figures it out. That O-line is terminal. You go back and you look at who they lost to. And they lost 3 games by 13 points at Rams, against Bucks before all the injuries, and at Jacksonville. Those are 3 teams that are going to be in the playoffs. So I probably killed them way too much for the 0-3 start. And now we're talking about a team that's 7-2 in their last 9 games. They have wins at Baltimore, a win against San Fran, a win against Jacksonville, a win against Buffalo, a win against Indy. You could make a case Houston if you're doing power rankings. By the way, God bless you if you're doing power rankings. A couple weeks ago, I suggested we do that every week. And then ever since, it's been like, it would have been a nightmare to try to do power rankings these last couple weeks. So Houston has a case to be really, really high. If you're just talking about like what teams are right now, I mean, that's a pretty incredible resume over their last 9 games here. And even the losses are a 3-point loss to Denver and a 1-possession loss at Seattle.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating to see how some of these races play out down the stretch. I have no idea on some of them. And we're going to get into that projecting a little bit more over the next few weeks as we get closer to the end of the season.
And we just talked about it with the Chiefs, but Sunday Night Football is huge. Texans, Chiefs, whoever loses that game, you are in trouble.
Yeah. Okay, let's go New Orleans at Miami. Miami wins 21-17. The Saints scored a touchdown and needed a 2-point conversion to tie, but a false start backed them up. And then Minkah Fitzpatrick had a 100-yard pick two, I guess we call it, to put the Dolphins up 4. And after the game, it came out that actually the headset malfunctioned during that, so the players called their own defensive play because they couldn't get a call from the sideline. I don't know if you've seen that, but that return turns out to be huge because the Saints then recover an onside kick, but they're stuffed on a 4th and 1 from the Miami 36-yard line. So if that 2-point conversion was just broken up instead of returned, all of a sudden, the Saints are probably attempting a field goal to win the game there. That would have been a 53-yarder, well within the range of most kickers. So that return by Minkah turned out to be huge. Von Achane continues to be the Dolphins' entire offense. He rushed for 134 yards and a touchdown, and his rushing yards actually matched Tua's net passing yards, 12 of 23 for 134 and an interception. And he became the first Dolphins running back with 3 straight 120-yard rushing games since Ricky Williams did it in 2002. If he does it next week, it will set the franchise record.
Achane's been unbelievable, and my dad is one Dolphins win away from bragging that he was correct, that the Dolphins were going to go 6-7 when they were 3-7. And I told him it was crazy that the Dolphins can't have an easy schedule because they are the easy schedule. But 2 games later, they beat the Commanders by 3 in Madrid, and they beat the Saints by 4. And Mike McDaniel is saving his job.
You think he'll end up staying? You think he'll survive?
They announced that he is. I don't know if I generally roll my eyes at that. But they do. It depends how the last 4 games go. I think they're going to win this week again, and I think they're going to be 6-7. But then you go at Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, at Patriots. None of those games, the Patriots could be resting guys at the end too. Like, none of those games are unwinnable, but none of them are easy either. So it'll be interesting. But I think it's trending that way.
Yeah. All right, Falcons at Jets. Jets win 27-24. The Jets scored a touchdown to tie the game with 1:53 left, and there were 4 more possessions in the final 1:53 of this game. There were 3 straight 3-and-outs that took less than 30 seconds off the clock, and then the Jets got into field goal range. Nick Folk hits a 56-yard field goal to lift the Jets to victory. He had missed from 55 earlier in the game, so it wasn't a slam dunk, but he hits it. A.D. Mitchell, 8 for 102 with the touchdown in this game. And I just want to remind everyone once again that the Falcons do not have their own first-round pick in this draft due to the utterly insane trade that they made with the Rams on draft nights. Shout out to the Falcons front office for botching everything once again.
Yeah, I have no. You know what I have to say on this game? Kirk Cousins looked pretty good.
That just feels gross.
He looked a lot better than I thought Kirk Cousins could look in 2025. Yeah. It looked like maybe he could be a backup somewhere next year.
All right. Arizona at Tampa. Tampa wins 20-17. They right the ship after 3 straight losses. Bucky Irving played in his first game since week 3, and he wasn't great, but he did rush for 61 yards and a touchdown. He had 20 receiving yards. They also got Chris Godwin back. He had 3 catches for 78 yards, and so you're seeing the Bucs start to get healthy maybe. Hopefully that continues for them. On the Cardinals side, they lose another close one. This is their 7th loss this season by 4 or fewer points. No other team has more than 4 such losses this season. They have 7. So anti-clutch, bad luck, whatever you want to call it. They drop another super close one.
I don't know what to say about these teams I haven't already said. Tear the Arizona Cardinals roster down to the studs, fire everyone, and relocate the franchise would be what I would say.
All right. Los Angeles Rams at the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers get the stunning victory, 31-28. Coupled with the Bears' victory, drops the Rams out of pole position for the 1 seed in the NFC. And the Panthers leaned on a rushing attack that went 40 carries for 164 yards, which is 4.1 yards per carry. Chuba Hubbard outperformed Rico Dowdle in this game. He had 1 less carry, 17 versus 18, but he had 83 yards compared to Dowdle's 58 yards. He also had a receiving touchdown. Bryce Young was very efficient in this game, goes 15 of 20 for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. while adding 23 yards as a runner. And it's funny, we talk about announcers' curses and things, but Stafford threw a touchdown pass on the opening drive that was his 28th straight touchdown without an interception, which set an NFL record. And then on the very next drive, he threw an interception. He later threw another interception that was returned for a touchdown, and he lost a fumble. So, it's a bad day when your quarterback that just set a record for touchdowns without an interception commits 3 turnovers. And shout out to Derek Brown. He had a great game for Carolina. He got a hand on one of Stafford's interceptions that deflected and got intercepted, and he had a strip sack. And that strip sack came on a 3rd and 10 from the Carolina 22 in a 3-point game. Carolina ran out the last 2.5 minutes and did not give the ball back. So that took points off the board, presuming that the Rams kicker would make a short field goal, which is not a presumption you can make. But the Rams dropped this one and keeps the 1 seed really interesting, and it keeps the NFC South really interesting too, with the Colts picking up another win.
Bryce Young.
Panthers. I said Colts, with the Panthers picking up another win.
I think Bryce Young is the perfect way to sum up this Panthers season. Shane, how many times do you think Bryce Young has thrown for between 200 to 300 yards this season?
For between 200 and 300 yards?
Yes.
3 times.
This was his first time throwing between 200 and 300 yards this season, because he had one game with 328 yards. He had one game with 448 yards. And then he had 9 games under 200 yards. And now he finally has a normal quarterback stat line, and not one that looks like one either that comes from Madden, the 2 positive ones, or the 9 that come from like the 1950s. And if you just want to talk about like volatility, over the last 5 weeks, Bryce Young in week 9 scored 3 fantasy points and finished as quarterback 29 that week. It probably means that like literally backups finished in front of him because there's bye weeks. In week 10, he finished with 1.56 fantasy points, and he was QB 29 that week. Week 11, he finished with 31.82 fantasy points. He was the 2nd best quarterback in fantasy that week. Week 12, he finished with 8.2 fantasy points. He was the 21st quarterback in fantasy that week. And this week, he finished with 23 fantasy points. He was the number 4 quarterback in fantasy this week. So he's been a top 5, top 4 quarterback twice in the last 3 weeks. He's also been outside of the top 20 in the other 3 of the last 5 weeks. The Carolina Panthers, the Bryce Young experience, you can't really confidently say that anything's going to or is not going to happen when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. I have no idea how to predict the Carolina Panthers, who to start from the Carolina Panthers for fantasy, when to bet on them, when to bet against them. But in any one quick game here, Tet McMillan. Remember when people were like, that guy's bad at football because he has other interests and isn't very good at football? Let's take a look at, would you take Cam Ward or Tet McMillan going forward?
Tet McMillan.
Travis Hunter or Tet McMillan going forward?
Tet McMillan.
Abdul Carter or Tet McMillan going forward? It's close. That one's really close. That's fair. Will Campbell or Tet McMillan going forward?
I'm not sure that I haven't watched Campbell enough to say, honestly.
He's been good, and now he's hurt, but he's been
Okay.
good. I don't think he's been like special or anything like that as like a rookie, but he's been good. Mason Graham, I'm taking Tet over Graham. Genty, I'm taking Tet over Genty. Armand Membu, I think he's actually been really good, so I'm not going to say either way. But Tet McMillan fell too far, and he didn't fall as far as some of the nerds out there wanted him to fall. So I just want to put that out there this year. When someone has another interest outside of football, let's actually just like watch the film and watch the tape.
Yeah. That is an interesting time to choose for a victory lap when he had 1 reception in this game.
They score. Is that what I'm thinking?
It's a 43-yard touchdown.
I can't lie. I wasn't that locked into this game. I think that was that to ice the game though?
But he does have 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. So.
Oh, no. If you look overall, I mean, he's had a fantastic season. I wasn't locked in on this game, and I wasn't looking at the box score in front of me. I think he had the touchdown at the end of the game to ice the game. Let me confirm that. Yeah, he had the touchdown to go up 31-28 at the end. So that's what I saw, and I just assumed that there's no way that was his only catch of the game, right? He had a 43-yard touchdown. He must have had a great day.
Yeah.
But no, that was it apparently. But if you look at his stats, he's been fantastic this year. I think he's been a top 57 catches, 826 yards, and 6 touchdowns on the year.
Especially considering his QB situation.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, speaking of QB situations, let's go Minnesota at Seattle, where the Minnesota Vikings definitively answered the question, how much worse could the Vikings do than J.J. McCarthy? Max Brosmer enters the stage and throws 4 interceptions, takes 4 sacks, and leads the team to only 162 total yards as they get rolled 26-0 by the Seahawks. Sam Darnold had another bad game, I think. The Seahawks only scored 12 points in their first 8 drives. Darnold took 4 sacks. He fumbled twice. He continues to fold under pressure. But they got a pick 6 on one, honestly, on the dumbest interception you'll ever see. Like the one-handed flip as you're falling down right to a defender. I mean, to Max Brosmer's credit, which is not something that you want to be making a name for yourself saying, it was at least 4th and 1, so he's just trying to chuck it up in the air. But man, anyways, so the Vikings get shut out, and that shutout, how many games do you think the Vikings had scored points consecutively? They broke streak. How many games do you think it's been since the Vikings were shut out?
What's 170, a decade times 17?
94-game streak of scoring for the Vikings. It's the 3rd longest active streak in the NFL behind the Ravens and Steelers. So good Jeopardy question one day. Who is Max Brosmer?
Did you see the Tariq Woolen interception in this game that he returned 30 yards and was trying to go across the field and got hit and fumbled it back to Minnesota, and Minnesota got the ball back?
No, I didn't notice that one.
That's all I have to say from this game. It's a hilarious clip if you want to find it. It's very, very funny. I had Seahawks team total over 26.5 in this one, and that happened when it was 26-0. I was like, go, go, go. And then he got hit, and I was like, are you kidding me? Somehow it ended up being worse for me. Minnesota lost 20 yards of field position when it happened. So it was less of a chance Seattle would get the ball back and try to score. But yeah, that's pretty much all. Sam Darnold was terrible in this game.
Yeah, shout out RAP my fantasy team. My fantasy team was awful. I had I think 6 of my starters scored in the single digits, but it's not like I played the wrong guys, because the high scorer on my bench, excluding RJ Harvey, who had 2 touchdowns on 14 rushing yards, outside of him, my high scorer on my bench was 3.5 points. So my entire team is hurt. I think it's 4 of my top 5 picks are on IR right now. So RIP fantasy football. I really hope to never play it again.
I've had a rough fantasy year. We'll bounce back.
Yeah.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Disney Plus wants to know, are you ready? For Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers. Now streaming on Disney Plus.
Let's do this.
One of the best Marvel movies of all time is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Hey, you weren't listening to me.
I said Thunderbolts, The New Avengers is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Meet the New Avengers.
That's cool name.
Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers. Rated PG-13. Now streaming on, you guessed it, Disney Plus.
The Who's Down in Who Newville were making their list.
But some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire an energy vampire. But also, they're a literal vampire. And suddenly, my team is spending all their time sharpening wooden stakes and buying bulk silver and rehearsing ancient chants, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant takes insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a short list of the best fits for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
So I'm watching the clip now of him trying to reverse field. Is it Brosmer that hits him?
I forget. I actually don't remember, but I remember laughing at it hysterically.
Who's
he's
number
so
one?
upset after. He's like, no! Hands on his head, walking away, like so sad.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't play defense. Or that's why he plays defense.
Yeah.
Who's number one? Is that Addison? I don't know. Anyways, that's a funny clip.
I think Addison's 3. I think it might be Naylor.
Okay. Yakko asked, do the Patriots wish they would have taken Mimbu over Will Campbell? Probably,
but I think Campbell's good.
Yeah. Okay, Buffalo at Pittsburgh. Buffalo wins 26-7. They were down 7-3 at halftime, largely due to a pair of turnovers, but Joey Bosa strip-sacked Aaron Rodgers, and Christian Benford scooped it and scored. And then on the next drive, with Rodgers in the medical tent being evaluated for a concussion, Mason Rudolph threw an interception that led to a Bills touchdown, and the route was on. Of course, they go on to win 26-7. James Cook rushed for 144 yards on the day and led the Bills in receiving yards with 33. But the Steelers are in deep trouble. Aaron Rodgers looks terrible. 10 of 21 passing in this game. The run game only managed 58 yards against a Bills run defense that's really bad. I think I'm officially out on Pittsburgh. I don't think they're making the playoffs.
I agree. Yeah, I'm done with Pittsburgh, and Arthur Smith should be in a gulag. Like, send Arthur Smith to prison for what this offense is on a week-to-week basis. And the fact that you have 18 carries for 58 yards against this Bills run defense that we have seen gashed week in and week out, no matter who they play, and you can't get the run game going whatsoever. Like, how are you relying on Aaron Rodgers in this game? I guess he only threw 21. I mean, they barely ran any plays. Like, how many plays did they run in this game? I'm trying to figure. 43 plays they ran in this game as an offense to Buffalo's 74 plays that Buffalo ran in this game. It's a joke. I mean, Arthur Smith is a joke. It's a fact that, like, what has Arthur Smith done in his career to earn these chances time and time again, besides have, like, a rich dad? I don't really get the Arthur Smith thing. And I don't know Arthur or Patullo.
Arthur easily.
Yeah, Arthur's like called plays before at a high enough level, even though I think he's an idiot. If you want to talk about someone not using their key talent, Arthur Smith could piss off our top talent as well. Bijan Robinson was getting like 6 carries a game as a rookie. I don't want to like take away from this that Buffalo is going to be fine and that they're a contender and they're right back in the mix. I mean, they are a contender because there's no real good teams and they have Josh Allen. But I don't want to freak out and overpraise Buffalo when Pittsburgh is like just a catastrophe.
Yeah, I don't have a strong enough vocabulary to properly express how quickly I would take Arthur Smith over Kevin Patullo if they called us up right now and were like, hey, OC swap. I would drive to Philly to drive him to the airport myself.
I think we'd still have a ton of problems because I think Arthur Smith is like a bottom 5 offensive coordinator. We just might have the worst.
Still an improvement though. Okay, the Raiders at the Chargers. Chargers win 31-14. Kamani Vidal had a good game on the ground for the Chargers. He rushes for 126 yards and a touchdown on 25 carries. which helped take the pressure off Justin Herbert, who attempted only 20 passes in this game, which is good because their O-line is still kind of a disaster, and you do not want to get into must-pass situations. The Chargers were 12 of 17 on third downs in this game, so they sustained drives. They won time of possession pretty handily. I think it was like 36 minutes to 24. And in this game, Justin Herbert moved into third place for most passing yards in the first 6 years of a career, behind only Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes. So he's 306 behind Patrick Mahomes, so I mean, he's going to pass that barring an injury. He's 950 behind Peyton Manning for first place with 5 games to go, so another record watch we can keep an eye on. Not that most passing yards in the first 6 years of your career is a particularly prestigious record. Feels a little made up, but something else we can keep an eye on anyways.
Did you see Max Crosby push Justin Herbert in this game because Herbert was celebrating in his vicinity?
Yeah.
That's a defeated man in Max Crosby, who's like, man, I have never played an important football game in my career.
It made me think of the old Phillip Rivers clip where I forget, I don't remember who it was, but somebody hits him hard as he's throwing a pass, but it ends up going for like a long touchdown, and the defender helps Phillip Rivers up, and then Phillip Rivers starts yelling in his face about how it was a touchdown and runs off. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
That's what popped into my head with that whole thing. So Phillip Rivers was so obnoxious, but I love that clip.
Yeah, it's a great clip. Phillip Rivers, one of my least favorite athletes of all time. I as a child growing up, I despised Phillip Rivers.
All right, and then let's get into Sunday Night Football. It goes into overtime. Denver wins 27-26 in overtime over the Commanders. The Commanders hit a field goal as time expires to send it to overtime. Then they give up a touchdown in overtime, then answered with one of their own, and they decide to go for 2, and they failed to convert. They lose by 1. I think it was Nick Benito got a hand on the pass and deflected it at the line of scrimmage. Horrific officiating in this game against the Commanders. A couple of big plays. But that almost feels not worth mentioning, as bad as NFL officiating's been this season. But what is worth mentioning is the incredible one-handed catch that Treylon Burks had on an end zone fade. It's the first touchdown he's caught since 2022. It was the only reception he had in the game for 5 yards and a touchdown, but that's got to be a candidate for Coach of the Year. Incredible catch. If you haven't seen it, go look that one up. Thoughts on this game?
I went to bed with the Broncos up 20-17 when they got the ball back at like 3 minutes left. I was like, all right, they're either getting a first down or the Commanders aren't scoring. And I wake up to crazy game. Oh, unbelievable. All these like notifications. I'm like, what the heck? Like I couldn't believe it. I do think there's something to be said about the Broncos defense. Like when we talk about these AFC contenders and like why we buy in, it's like, oh, Drake May, oh, Josh Allen, whatever it is, the Texans defense, if we want to say that they're a contender, if they make it, the Chiefs just have it. The Broncos defense is what we bring up. They have these weird games, like that 32 points they gave up to the Jackson Dart Giants like a month and a half ago. This game, Washington, I know it's in overtime, so it's 20, it's not as much 26 points as it is 20 points before overtime. But I mean, Mariota throws for 294. They give up 143 yards rushing, 4.3 yards a carry. Like the Denver defense should not be looking as mediocre as it did against Marcus Mariota.
Yeah. It's surprising to me because, I mean, we know what Denver's offense is, but we also know Washington's offense hasn't been very good. So, I mean, 20 points, I guess, isn't a terrible performance.
It's not.
But the defense, I think, is going to have to be better than that for Denver to go on a serious run, because I don't have much faith in their offense at all.
Totally agree. It's just the 8 for 17 on third down, 3 for 3 on fourth down. Like Washington should not be 11 for 20 on third and fourth down against the Denver defense.
Yeah. So, all right. I think that's about going to do it. Obviously, Monday Night Football kickoff should be momentarily. I think it's 7:15, right? Or 8:15. Anyways,
yes, yeah.
Has not kicked off yet, so we won't get a chance to talk about the Patriots smoking the Giants on this show, but maybe we'll mention it next week. But Mark, before we get out of here, do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Stop talking about Miami and BYU and Vanderbilt being over Notre Dame in the rankings, or over Alabama, or over Oklahoma. It is very much at this point, there's only three things to talk about with the college football playoff. Number 9, if the rankings stick from last week, number 9's Notre Dame, number 10's Alabama, 11's going to go to an ACC or a G5, the 12's going to go to an ACC or a G5. There's 2 spots for 3 teams. Everybody's talking about Vanderbilt and Texas, Miami, all these teams. There's 2 spots for 3 teams. It's Notre Dame, Alabama, and then BYU. BYU, who controls their own destiny. BYU can go win the Big 12. And if that happens, that means there's 1 spot for Notre Dame and Alabama. And if Alabama wins the SEC, that means there's 0 spots for Notre Dame. So just trying to accurately kind of describe what the situation is for the playoffs next weekend. Unless something changes tomorrow when they do the rankings, that's what it is. Everybody's going to throw you a million scenarios and a million teams at you, and a million, is this team going to jump? Is this team going to jump? After this weekend, a lot of teams are done for, so they're going to be planted in the rankings. That's the entirety. Someone asked if we can name the 5 worst offensive coordinators and worst defensive coordinators. It's hard to do that with guys that we're not in the mix on.
Yeah.
In a real way. It's easier.
We've got lots of stuff on Arthur Smith because we hated him with the Falcons for a lot of years, but it would take having a lot more schematic knowledge on what each team's doing to be able to at least do that off the cuff. It's something we could probably research out.
And it's also one of those things where it's like, offensive coordinators on teams with the offensive play calling head coach, kind of irrelevant. Defensive coordinators on teams with a defensive play calling head coach, kind of irrelevant. So it almost like removes those from the pool. So we're really only talking about like offensive play callers who don't have an offensive minded head coach. I don't know. I guess that's not true because Nick's the CEO, but offensive play callers and defensive play callers is a little bit narrowing it more down. And even that, I think, is probably asking too much for people who aren't as ingrained in every team. There's certain people who we're going to know more about. Like, I think we're probably a little bit more aware of what Joe Brady's doing in Buffalo than what we are with, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, what's his name in Arizona? I can't believe I'm forgetting. Drew Petzing, who I've complained about a lot on this show. Yeah. So it's easy for me to complain about Drew Petzing, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've like poured through the all 22 on Drew Petzing and can tell you that the schematics on his offense are dumb. And I'm just telling you, I don't think he gets the ball in the hands of his best players over a large sample size now. And I don't think he communicated well with Kyler when he was the guy and bridged the gap between Kyler and Marv when, there were clearly issues last year. But anyway, that's it's hard to compare situations, I think, especially given whatever the situation the head coach is in.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that for sure. So it's a good discussion point, and it's so hard to parse out what goes on in organizations, and especially without getting into film on all of them. But sometimes it's really clear who some of the good ones and some of the bad ones are. But
that's
a lot of the in between. It's really hard to suss that out.
Yeah, Clint Kubiak's probably the best one. Is what I would tell you right now. In terms of like an offensive play caller who's not the head coach of their team, I would probably tell you Clint Kubiak is doing the best job.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Our Week 13 reaction show is in the books. If you enjoy what you heard on the show, be sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode. Drop us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at Shane Half NFL. He is at Mark Henry Jr. And we will catch you guys next time.